The light in your eyes comes over me just like a sunrise. You set a scene.
Well, we're on next leg of our Victorian road trip, and it's going to be a beauty. Our high country adventure starts at Corryong, but we've pulled into a roadside gravel pit for some lunch on the way. We'd unexpectedly stopped beside a pioneer cemetery, the type of place we always find interesting. Each headstone a glimpse into a past life. To get the most from our time in the high country, we joined up with 5 other TVANers on a tour led by local legends Ron and Trent Moon. After an overnight stay in Corryong, we headed into the hills onto logging roads, stopping to air down in readiness for the tracks we would soon turn onto. Before long, we were climbing toward our first challenge of the trip, Mount Pinnabar. The areas we were driving through were badly affected by bushfire, mostly those of the 2019 Christmas fires. The stark tree skeletons contrasted against the wildflowers to make for a macabre but beautiful scene. We were soon on a rutted track, and one of our group rolled their tyre off its bead on a scrabbly climb. So the call went out to grab some lunch while it was fixed. The final push up Mount Pinnabar's northern face was steep and loose, so second low gear was used to give drive while minimising wheel spin. Even on this summer afternoon, the summit of Pinnabar was cold and wet, the clouds swirling around the trig marker on its 1,800 metre high peak. After leading the climb, we swapped place to rear of the convoy for descent off the mountain. As we weaved our way down, the vegetation changed to mark each elevation zone. The alpine heath and snow gums made way for alpine ash and mountain gums. Then, further into the valley, tall open forest of stringy bark and manna gums signalled the return to warmer elevations, sheltered from alpine winds. These tight mountain tracks are no place for people worried about scratched paint, though we have paint protection film on the cruiser and TVAN to minimise the damage. After an afternoon on dusty forest trails, we camped at the serene Dogman's Hut ground on Tom Groggin Station beside the Murray River. Day 2 on the trail saw us heading down Mount Hope Road. Although the tragedy of bushfires had denuded the mountains, it did make for spectacular views that would have otherwise been obscured.
It's hiding in the place you feel the most. Sifting through the rubble, chipping at a broken wall. It won't all be perfect, but it can be beautiful.
We then cut onto Greg's track, which proved to be very overgrown, with several fallen trees needing to be cleared and making for some tight manoeuvring.
I know the road is long, but we're not giving up. There's no safety in the shadows. Soon the light will drive out the old ghost. Sometimes you gotta raise your voice for the broken ones who never had a choice. Sifting through the rubble, chipping at a broken wall. It won't all be perfect, but it can be beautiful. We can make it better than it ever was.
Next was Misery Trail, on which we headed west to the Nunniong High Plains. eventually making camp as mist swirled down from the surrounding peaks.
Love is taking we can make it better than it.
The next morning revealed dozens of wild horses grazing on the plain right behind camp, making for a very peaceful scene.
We can make it better than it ever was. I know we can make it. I know we can make it. I know the road is long, but we're not giving up. I know the road is long, but we're not giving up. Love is taking over now. Nothing's gonna stop this love. We can make it better than it ever was.
While winding our way down from Nunniong, we paused to inspect the amazing old Washington winch, a steam-powered hoist once used to drag and load logs from the steep mountain slopes. From there we rolled easily along Bindi Road, following it into the pretty farmland surrounding Omeo, our lunch stop and chance to refuel. Back on the road, although a visit to the dog's grave made for an interesting side trip. The grave is a monument to Bonnie the cattle dog, best mate of cattleman Peter Meehan, who buried Bonnie here after she ate a strychnine dingo bait. As the afternoon came on, we ended with a scenic drive from Dinner Plain Village along the Great Alpine Road to Danny's Lookout, then onto the Dargo High Plains Road. A final turn onto Kingspur Track brought us onto the best campsite of the trip, on a spectacular escarpment at Devil's Hollow, with views right across the valley towards Hotham Heights. I'll wrap this one up here, though join our next travel vlog as we take in more high country highlights, including Blue Rag, Talbotville, Billy Goat Bluff Track, Dargo, and several iconic cattlemen's huts. But for now, a cosy fire and some bush ballads make for a great end to the day's exploring.
First there came a kangaroo with his swag and blanket blue. Beside him was a dingo for a mate. They were travelling pretty fast and I heard them as they passed. We better get along, it's getting late. Three frogs from out the swamp where the atmosphere was damp came in, hopping in and sat upon some stones. They undid their little swags and took out from out their bags the violin, the banjo and the bones. Then the little bandicoot played a tune upon his flute. 3 native bears came in and formed a ring, and the pelican and the crane, they came in from off the plain and amused the audience with the Highland fling.